Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Jackson, I beat you by 15. Easily.
Wow.
15 seconds. Easily.
Wow.
15 seconds. Yes.
Well, it's nice. It's funny. It's a race, isn't it? One thing I love is that if you're, of all my podcast partners, you are the one that I have zero thought about whether it's going to occur or whether we need to remind or anything like that. I just show up and I know with certain that my Mr. Sullivan is going to be greeted with a Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, even though you're responding to me as if I'm a real person, instead of the new AI program I have, which
wait a second now. Is that... That's pretty funny.
Well, humans really like technology because it's, for the most part, if it's not too complicated, technology, it tends to have a reliability and predictability about it that we find pleasing.
Yes.
For example, we have heated driveways and heated front walks.
Yes.
For the snow season, and quite frankly, it's not been needed up until yesterday. So yesterday was the first time this winter that we've actually had snow. That could actually present a problem, because we have a hill that you have to drive up on our driveway, and it would be hard if we didn't have this. But the moment yesterday that the temperature was 32 degrees, and that's one of the sensors, and the other one, it sensed wet, immediately the heating goes on for pavements, and in some cases we have parts of our garden, and it's absolutely reliable. It's absolutely reliable. So no snow accumulated. It snowed pretty well for 24 hours, and we have completely dry. So that's what I really, really like about dependable technology. It's set up to be useful when it's need to be useful. And, I'm a big fan generally of electricity too. I know on Earth Day when everybody makes a big point about turning their lights off, I says, "Oh, not me." I said, first of all, I'm thankful that Earth Day comes every year because it reminds me to have electricity hour. They have Earth hour, and what it reminds me of is to have Earth hour. So every light in our houses, because we have more than one, and all the outside lights, I go on, and for an hour, I just very peacefully, kind of in a meditative, prayerful state, I just sit there and appreciate all those who have worked very, very hard over centuries to build up the capability called very, very cheap, very reliable, very accessible electricity. I'm deeply appreciative of that. Very grateful, actually.
I love that. That's so funny. I had a wonderful experience today with technology. I think I shared with you the latest iteration of our Dial Talk Done podcast service that Paul released for me in Phoenix last week. Well,
I had Siri-enabled Who Not How, or not Who Not How, but it is a Who Not How.
Who is technology sometimes? Yes.
Who is technology? Yes, and so you've been enjoying it even more this past week.
Oh, I'll tell you what. So I was driving from Winter Haven to Miami today. I'm in Miami right now, and so I had 3.5 hours in the car, and I recorded three Thinking Out Loud podcast episodes, just telling and capturing a lot of the examples and stories that I tell, and it was really like, I just love this capability right now that I can, without any typing, without any, need for opposable thumbs, I can, just with my voice, create a podcast and have it almost instantly get put up on iTunes. So as I'm going, I'm recording them, and then they're, rocketing their way through Cloudlandia and landing up in iTunes on the podcast without any human intervention and with nothing but my voice. It's beautiful.
Well, I had sort of a technology human teamwork upgrade for myself this week. We've engaged with Ari Meisel's company to have trained impact builder facilitators.
Yeah.
And that was launched last May. And, it's been, some of our strategic coach clients are using it and some of them aren't. Of the ones who use it all say it's great. And so I said, this is a bit like the biblical story of the children of Israel escaping from Egypt. And when they get to the Red Sea parts. That's the standard story, but the inside story is it didn't happen until the first Israelite was in the water up to his nose, and then there was enough commitment demonstrated that the waters parted. Anyway,
wow.
So I was thinking, I think what's holding some of the strategic coach entrepreneurs back from using Ari's service, they would like someone to help them with their impact filter, but it seems like a how to them to even do this activity. I mean, it would be a who would be helping them, but it seems to me like you're asking me to do a new how in order to take advantage of this who. So I said, well, they need a demonstration. So on Friday at about 3:00, I did my first session where I utilized one of Ari's facilitators to go through an impact builder, and I hadn't pre-thought it at all. I wanted to be very honest about the test. And so it's a big use of capability that we all already have connected to Kindle, and then connected to various landing sites, which land ultimately to a 60-minute free webinar. And so anyway, I hadn't thought through it. I had talked through it with Ben Hardy, and Ben said he had done this and that it really works well. So anyway, at the appointed hour, 3:00, I show up, and I have a very, very skillful, very, very talented facilitator named Joanne, trained by Ari, loves the impact builder, and promptly in 40 minutes walked me completely through the impact builder, went back over it to make sure that she had the order right, she had the wording right, she had the measurements right. And over the weekend, it has been sent to me, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful impact builder. And so what I did it on Zoom, where I'm interacting, so you can see me interacting with Joanne, and we recorded it, and we're going to send it out to everybody and say, so this is Dan actually using the facilitator, and tell you the truth, I'm never going to write another impact builder myself. From now on, I got a partner for my impact filter, and
that's great.
I was so thrilled with it.
Yeah, sometimes the thing to get somebody started is just to get somebody started. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I think that a lot of times people might be thinking that, well, I've got to kind of do an impact filter to prepare for my impact filter. That's probably what's going on. I think that's kind of, if I think about it, that's what's been that would be going through my mind.
Yeah.
And so I think that, that might be a good, I think I should try it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Both of us are, if you had to choose which you would most want Dan or Dean involved with, would it be the writing or would it be the talking?
Yes, exactly.
We're both talkers. Our strong suit is that we're talkers. I mean, I never procrastinate never in my life have I procrastinated when there was an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, and you think quickly. As 10 quick starts, we both think quickly. And so to know, we're never at a shortage of what to say. You can point in a direction and we can gather our thoughts quickly and articulate them. Mm-hmm. So you're right.
But writing off by myself, I can get distracted. I can hit a low energy bump, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm going to go do something," and there's the end of the project. And everything. And when I'm a little bit tired, that's when the most entertaining squirrels come to visit me. And so one comes in and says, I bet you've never seen a juggling squirrel before. I says to absolutely truthful, I have never seen, but I'd like to watch you for the next 10 minutes juggle rather than do my impact builder.
Oh, that's so funny.
I've got a friend who's a three-legged squirrel. Wait till you see him. Can't wait. So the big thing is that I will do approximately, if I last year was engaged by this, I will do about 80 impact filters that I know about between now and the end of 2019, and I'm just going to put them in the schedule. And to make it even truthful, Ari said, yours are free. And I said, no, they're not free, because I want to play by the same rules that anyone else in Strategic Coach is going to do. So, we've got a deal. Ari gets all the money for them, but the capability of having that capability is priceless for me. So I said, no, I'll pay the going rate for it. But I'm just going to book it now for the rest of the year, because I couldn't have done that impact filter on my own on Friday, but I could do it with a facilitator. I couldn't have done it as pleasurably, enjoyably as I did on Friday with the facilitator, and I wouldn't have come off the call with such a huge sense of energy about the possibility of having them all be that way. So that's my little sales pitch today.
I love it. And the funny thing is, I feel kind of cool about that, because that was a result of a conversation that you and I had about how the idea of the impact.
You triggered it. You triggered it. Yeah. No. I immediately, the next week after you told me, I said, I'm gonna phone Ari. Actually, he was in for his workshop the next week, and I mentioned it to him, and he had the deal all set up within about 3 hours.
I love that. Now, how do I get started with that? What's the process here? How does this work?
Well,
do you have to schedule it ahead of time, or
you have to just send. They have a little on ramp where you just phone in and you put in the time when you'd like to do it, and they have someone waiting for you when you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and they send an email back and confirm that who the person will be, because he's got a team, and and she was terrific. I can't say enough about her perception. And one of the things about Ari's people, they're all project managers, so they're used to taking projects and making them real and getting the right people involved. So they have a general context of project planning, but they have this special focus on the impact builder forms. So I'm really pleased with it. And unfortunately, I don't have the contact information here, but Ari's company
I think I have an email about it.
Yeah, Ari's company is Less Doing, and I think it's Less Doing / impact builder or something like that. You just So yeah, I'm not sure, because if it's not right, you won't get to it. So
right.
But if you have it right there, I'm sorry. I just
no, that's okay.
I didn't know we were going to talk about this
I didn't
subject,
either. We never know. We never know what we're going to talk about. But this is the kind of thing where we're getting to a point right now where we can. I mean, I'm so intrigued with how much we can actually do with our voice. How much we can do with just talking. And so if there's a way to, hey Siri, schedule an impact filter, that would be a really great.
Yeah, I have a very extensive religious, background, as many people know. I grew up in, a very, 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 very deeply involved Catholic family in the 1940s, 50s. But I always remember the first words of the Bible, and the Bible said, "In the beginning was the Word."
Right.
And it didn't say, "In the beginning, God took out the garbage."
Right.
Yeah.
In the beginning was the Word. That's right.
In the beginning was the Word. So, you got to be, and that's lasted for a long time. It's lasted for a long time. And, there's some question about whether it means word as we understand it, but we know it, because the word is logos, because the surviving version of the Bible is written in Greek, and logos, Logos, can be thought or word, and which actually serves the purposes doubly well, because if it's a word that's a thought, it's even more powerful.
Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like this, and that's so I'm going to get on that, and by the time we have our next call, I will have experienced an impact filter.
And to be fair, I hit it cold. I did no pre-thinking or brainstorming.
But you had an idea
anything.
of what the project was that you wanted to.
Yeah, I had an idea, but her questioning really developed it in my mind. So I just let her questioning, and I know the format of the impact filter, so I know what each of the boxes means, and so I just let her, I just threw myself into her, command of the situation, and I was so happy with the situation, and I can just see my future freed up.
Right on
by doing, Anyway. I was thinking about the sharp difference between Cloudlandia, so your definition of the two realms that we live in, Cloudlandia, and the mainland, and I was thinking about it in terms that I have confirmation this week that technology has now become so normal that it's no longer interesting. And that's
true about some.
That's my statement, that things have become normal when they're no longer interesting. And you go to a movie, and and you contrast your experience of a movie in 2019 with someone going to a very, very rough cut, black and white, no sound movie in 1919.
100 years.
Yeah, and they would come out and
playing the piano.
That's absolutely amazing. I am so blown away. And we go to the movie, and I know you're a great evaluator of movies because I've received some of the evaluations, and you know, you come out and you say, oh, you know, a lot of middle in there.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah. Boy, that really shows you how long. Really shows you how long an hour and 40 minutes can be. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and what I was thinking, and my proof of it is that if you compare 10 years ago to where we are right now, the people that I would call the titans of Cloudlandia, and I'll mention 5 of them. The companies are Facebook. So it'd be Facebook, it would be Apple, it would be Amazon, it would be Google, and that would probably do it for the time being. And then you had some real hotshots like Elon Musk with Tesla and everything like that. And if you compared their stature today compared with 10 years ago, their stature is much lower today.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, and the reason being is that they were seen as cultural heroes. These were pathfinders. These were, you know, mapping out new territory. And each of them has, each of them either has corporately or individually, and in some cases both, really hit rough waters where people are saying, you know, I don't really trust these people. You know, I don't really trust these people, and I don't even know if they're working on, you know, doing good things for me, or they're kind of doing it. And I think of them all, probably Facebook with Zuckerberg has taken the biggest beating, and I think Elon Musk, simply because he was promising certain breakthroughs and they weren't happening. And then Apple had their first bad quarter with selling iPhones, and people saying, well, maybe we've reached the peak now. And Google got involved and revealed that they're creating a super surveillance system for totalitarian country China, and then that it's kind of interesting. And my sense is the reason why we don't need them as heroes anymore is because the technology has become normal.
Well, I think that ties in with what we were talking about last week, actually, that I was saying how Steve Jobs, you know, was kind of like ushering in. He got so much more credit than his successor, because it was also, brand new. Yeah, it was like 1,000 songs in my pocket. Wow. I mean, that was like so brand new. And then the internet on my phone, incredible. And, you know, all these things were just like the advancement of technology. He was really, as I mentioned, riding the exponential waves, you know, the steepest rocket ship part of it. And now that we've reached the thing, internet, 1,000 songs in your pocket is just, it's kind of quaint now, where it's now.
Well, that seems like a lot of howling. That seems like a kind of howling, doesn't it? Getting all those songs down on your iPhone. That seems like a lot of work.
Exactly. And now it's like, you know, you get to the point in 2019 where like every song ever written available instantly on every device for free, conjured by my voice. That's where we're at with that now, you know? And so you're right, it's so normal. And there's no room, there's no kind of exponential improvement there. I think you're onto something there. The technology is really, it hasn't.
Well, what really struck me was the Jeff Bezos stories from the last week with his divorce. You know, and he made a tremendous amount of money because of Cloudlandia. I mean, because even though Amazon delivers mainland products, the real secret on how he's able to do that is really Cloudlandia.
Yes.
And but the one thing I do know from actual personal experience, that divorce is totally a mainland experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
they announced
that's true.
He and his wife, and I had not even been conscious of her before. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago who's Jeff Bezos' wife, I said, well, first of all, I didn't really know he was married, and secondly, I certainly didn't know who she was. And everything I've heard about her, and read a little bit about her, she seems to be an extraordinarily smart, talented, capable, and person who was, from my mind, when I read the story, was as instrumental in him getting started with Amazon 24 years ago as Babs was to me when I started Strategic Coach. And I've often said that if I didn't have the partnership with Babs, that there's no way I could have ever created Strategic Coach. And I have a feeling from the description that he probably wouldn't have created Amazon without his wife, Mackenzie, so.
Right.
But this is mainland stuff, divorce courts, divorce settlements. Those are not Cloudlandia experiences. Those are, and the big question now becomes, does she own half of his, he owns a big whack of Amazon. Does she own half of it? And does she have
16% he owns,
Yeah, so it's 8, and then, and then there's some. Then if you check the sofa after they stand up, you'll find all sorts of other loose change in that marriage too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I really am struck with, the geniuses of Cloudlandia seem to be having very, very tough mainland experiences over the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So it just shows you the reality of both realms, but they're very different realms.
Yeah. It's really an interesting exercise to think that through, I'm wondering now, where are the sort of next 10 years of what's now on that exponential curve, And I think we're starting to see, I think a lot of that is in, medicine and longevity and health.
Longevity.
Really, I think that's really the thing, where we're going now with DNA and genetic testing, interventions and that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to see,
I think the medicine one got set back a little bit with the Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes thing, because it turned out that it was all a scam to begin with. That there was no reality to it, and I expect there to be hype when someone has a new thing, but with this one, as there's books coming out on it, and there's going to be severe legal penalties on the people who are most involved, who can be proven to be most involved, including her, in pulling the wool over people's eyes and getting massive amounts of money from doing it. And I think that sort of thing sets things back a little bit, because people are more hesitant to invest in it. People are more doing it. But, the thing with a pick of blood, you could do complete blood analysis. It was such a compelling offer that people didn't need the convincing proof.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It seemed viable. I mean, it seems like of course that's where we're headed. And I think ultimately that is where we're headed, but just she wasn't there yet. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm hard to get blood out of, and it's a bit grueling when I go in for blood draws. It takes a very gifted.
I'm the same way.
What are they called? Phlebotomists.
Phlebotomists. Yeah.
Phlebotomists. I've reduced Olympic class phlebotomists to tears.
You have veins of steel. They're
behind
carbon.
Yeah, they're saying this has never happened to me before in my life. I feel this is after they've hit me about 5 times and they haven't drawn blood yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But anyway, it's really interesting. But more and more, I'm beginning to see that, and I think my reading of the other great breakthroughs, like railroads, the great breakthroughs, the electrical grid has spread over. We look back as single breakthroughs, but they actually happened over 30, 40 years, and there were scams, and there were hucksters, and there were huge failures, and everything like that. And my feeling is that there's an unnatural amount of intolerance today that when there's a breakthrough, it's a complete breakthrough, and everything works with the breakthrough. And yet, all the other breakthroughs that have really created our modern world took quite a bit of time, and there was a fair amount of, in some cases, 1 step forward, 2 steps behind, 2 steps backwards,
2 steps back,
like
yeah.
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were and the people who were the great breakthrough heroes were despicable human beings in many ways. They weren't nice people, and so I think that the expectations about our age and how fast things can happen and how completely a transformation can take place, I think that there's a lot of magical thinking attached to that. It's not really, there's no common sense to it.
Right. I think you're right. I mean, that's so, because if you do fast forward, though, 10 years, that I think it will be, like he said, normal. There'll be a lot more things that are normal that, I don't know. It feels like the self-driving cars have slowed down a little bit from the timeline of what they were expecting, as far as like integration into the world kind of thing. But I think within, certainly in 10 years, we'll have a complete picture of what that's going to be, like.
Yeah. Here's my prediction, though, about the self-driving cars. And so, in 20 years, what do you call every car presently in the city of Toronto being replaced by self-driving cars? What do you call that reality 20 years from now? You call that a self-driving traffic jam.
A self-driving traffic jam. That's funny. I think you're probably right. Self-driving gridlock.
Self-driving gridlock. Because for the life of me, I don't know how they could go faster, given the availability of space and the laws of gravity. I just can't comprehend what people say. Well, when they have self-driving cars, everything's going to go much faster. And I said, well, what if there's just as many, and the streets are all the streets that we still have available? How are things going to go faster?
I think that's there's something to that, because that's what's not going to change is the mainland desire of going to the same places at the same time. Like everybody's going to want to go from their work to their home at the same time when all the gridlock happens right now.
Yeah, and I'm really struck because we're kind of canny, and here's the big thing is like I haven't really been. We drive to the work, to the office in the morning, come home at night, and I can't remember the last time we were really in a significant traffic jam. You might have added 10 minutes to the trip at either distance, but not an hour. Not an hour, like where things are really jammed up and everything else. And it's just that you pick your times, and because I don't drive myself, either Babs is driving or the limousine drivers are driving, I've got an unusually good ability to find alleyways that nobody knows about, or if you just go through this parking lot, you're going to miss two lights. And the parking lot is open at both ends, and they can't tell because they can't tell whether you were actually parked or not, because everything has the meters now, the electronic meters. So so I can just drive. We can just drive through a block wide parking lot, and usually there's nobody in the booths anymore because it's all electronic. So we can do it. So humans, and then you got waves, waves or waves? Waves.
Waves.
Waves. You have waves, and so you have really smart humans with waves, and they still know how to do the trick. And the other thing is, we've noticed that when something is really busy and Google tells us how to go another way, Google's always kind of really stupid.
Oh, is that right? That's not.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because sometimes if you go away from the direction you want to go in, you can find a much better route. And my sense is a self-driving car won't be any smarter than any other self-driving car.
Yeah, I think you're right. Exactly. That they're all going to be. There's no intuition or no. Insider knowledge or you're right. That's human ingenuity is really what that is, right?
Yeah. And then somebody say, well, there's going to be flying cars. We'll be able to fly them. And I said, yeah, but I said right now there's a clamp down on drones. Like in the city of Toronto, you can't drive drones. So why would you be able to drive a flying car, if they're not allowing drones? And they're doing it for security reasons. They're doing it. Like you can't get near major airports with drones,
Right.
And everything like that. So these are all mainland. So since I've been talking to you about this, Dean, and I've just been thrilled with my enhanced what I would say appreciation of mainland issues.
Yes, it's a fun exercise to really kind of think about things in that distinction, right? Like thinking about what I find it like just my natural way of looking and seeing what's actually the mainland portion of this and what's the Cloudlandia portion of it. And there's so many things so many efficiencies if you just realize how little of most situations require mainland intervention, or require mainland stuff. So it's a fun thing, especially when you start now layering in that there's, no matter what happens, there's not going to be any advancements in what we actually have available time-wise, because we still have 100 Jacksons every day to work with. And I think the enhancement of individual productivity is where the real breakthroughs are going to take place. Right. The almost like the flywheel effect of what you're able to do. Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing you just pulled off with Siri, basically being the project manager for your automatic podcast. Yeah. That's an enhancement of Dean Jackson's individual creativity, productivity, that seems to me a huge breakthrough. And my feeling is that there's kind of like infinite extendable possibilities of that type of breakthrough that you had.
Yeah, once the domino, it's the domino thing. It's like you can set up this chain of events that these episodes that I'm recording there are so far about 5 to 10 minutes, unique, like individual thoughts. And so I'm already thinking ahead of what I've been doing with what we lovingly call the MOO method, right? Multiplied oral output. That there's, as soon as it goes up to iTunes, it's automatically now digitized. And so to be able to take that audio and turn it into articles that then get automatically posted on Medium and LinkedIn and Facebook and my blog, where it's all of these things, all this cascading things that can happen as a result of me just saying, hey Siri, let's podcast. That's all I have to do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating what we're able to accomplish there.
Yeah. But the one factor is that humans, because we live in the mainland, we're always trying to beat the game.
Right.
Some of us are, because the constrictions of mainland are much more fully engaged restrictions. I mean, we feel them emotionally, we feel them physically. They take place in real time and everything like that. Where digital can actually suck us. Kind of suck us in, the digital world. And we can be doing really neat things, but in fact, we're not being productive or creative, where they got us intellectually engaged. But meanwhile, nothing that the real world would consider useful or valuable is actually taking place.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm at the point now, Dan, where I'm really, considering just letting go of my schedule and having everything be scheduled through someone else. And I'd love, I know you have that sort of situation, and we've sort of talked about it before. But is there, does everything that you do, all the things that are scheduled, go through? Not Anna now, but who's? Do you have a new
Carolyn? Carolyn, Carolyn. And then I have project schedulers who will take my schedule result and then check in. Carolyn is the scheduler control,
Okay.
But there are other people like Kathy Davis and Eleonora Mancini, and Gord Vickman, who's my new podcast manager. I'll say to them, I'd like to have schedule me 3 sessions on Zoom over the next 3 weeks. And they say, okay, we'll do that. But they cannot put it in the schedule. They have to check with schedule control. But by saying that, I know it's going to happen, and everything. But I have not done any personal scheduling myself now for about 5 years. Like we're, I mean, on free days, we're up at the cottage and we're going to have dinner with somebody, or we're going to have them over. That sort of thing doesn't go in the schedule because you're on free days, and
right, yeah.
And the people you're talking to are, 10 minutes away or 15 minutes away, and it's a looser scheduling type of thing. But anything related to back in Toronto or in Chicago, that all is handled by another scheduler. And my sense is you do it this way, just to get your comfort level up with it. Either you pick a time period, like over a 2-week time period, I'm just going to have a scheduler schedule everything that needs to happen during that 2 weeks. And they will tell me when to show up. I'll be told by that person when to show up. And just check it out for 2 weeks. I say, don't do things big. Do things small, and then course correct. And because everybody's got different comfort levels on this.
Right.
And or the other thing is just you've already had the experience of having one experience completely scheduled 12 months out.
Yeah,
which is our project here.
Yeah, and the more of those that I have, like my podcasts are all scheduled out like that. Like I know where I just say, these are the dates. I just look in my calendar and I know that this time is where I'm doing it. And I see the name of the guest or who's on the podcast with me. And I just show up and do that. So all of that scheduling is done. But I think this is why what I'm considering is every piece of scheduling going through my through that process. I think that would make that's the next step for me, I think.
Yeah, and I think that I've got a certain tolerance for things going wrong. Where they actually improved the system. Like something wasn't quite nailed down, and it goes wrong. And what I do is I say, okay, let's sit down and talk about that. Why didn't we nail it down? What was it about our not nailing it down? And then it always improves. There's there's redundancy built in. There's double checking, checking back and forth with it. So I found that I leave I'm not OC about this. I'm not obsessive compulsive about it. I would say in the year it's at least 95% good. The system works, and sometimes there's a little lack of clarity. Something was done too quickly, or it was done in passing, and somebody didn't get the information. But then you just tighten it up so that the next year it's better with respect to that situation.
Yeah, and that's kind of encouraging. Because I really realized that it would be better for me to have it that way. I'm really looking for ways to fully embrace the thing, because nothing's getting on my schedule. I'm not sort of there's nothing getting on my schedule that I don't want to do. But right now, my current system is that I'm missing out on things that I do want to do because it wasn't planned ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think if I had that, I would be a more condensed, I'd be able to get more in the opportunities that I have. And I think that's what happens when you get to a point where you're doing, bigger things, or you got more things going on.
Well, when you're getting joy out of bigger things, your resentment of smaller things goes up.
Right. That's a good point too. That's exactly right.
No. I mean, if you didn't have a bigger goal, the sort of nickel and dime things you're doing weren't really bothering you because they're not taking you from a bigger result. They're not stopping you from. But once you have a bigger result in mind, then these little annoyances actually they get a lot bigger in your mind.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right.
And your irritation. Yeah. And Yeah, it was funny. I have a thought, and I wanted to bounce it off you because the other day we were driving to the office, and we turned onto the street where our parking lot is, and there was a guy with winter clothing on, and he's walking right down the middle of the driving lane with his back to us, and he's got earphones on, and he's reading his iPhone. And Babs is quick. She goes to her, her Terminator list, like our Schwarzenegger does, to pick a name to actually call him. And I said, no. I think he's competing for the Darwin Award this year. He's in training right now. So the Darwin Award is that you would that you would sacrifice your life in a foolish action so that the rest of the human race can get smarter. That's the Darwin Award, Charles Darwin. And then right as we were parking, I said, in life, there's two choices. You're either the learner or you're the lesson. And I love it. And we had three people in the car, and they said, "Oh, that's a great one-liner." So I just wanted to put you out there. I prefer not to be the lesson in life. I prefer to be the learner in life. That I'm learning from other people's lessons. They're not. You don't want to be a cautionary tale.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, he's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was just a thought that I had captured, and I wanted to bounce it off you.
I think it's so. They're so. These are good times, Dan. It's really like I just got this great sense of things. The next 10 years are just going to be so exciting in every way.
Yeah,
I think all these, all the things that we're doing. I just think even I see the mind shift. I see my mind shifting, even just in our first, not quite year in the Game Changer program. Even that shift of venture collaboration.
Yeah, and that's why I come back to the where the breakthroughs are going to be now in the we were talking about like a certain age of technology has come, and now it's not as exciting and interesting as it was. But I think that the key here is that actually productivity as a whole has not gone up as a result of the high technology, the multiplier technology. And I think the reason is because people are still adjusting to it in a negative way. Okay, and maybe that's why there's this negativity towards the titans of the universe, the big heroes of 10 years ago and now. But my feeling is now is that the great breakthroughs of technology are not going to be in the digital. They're not going to be in Cloudlandia. The great breakthroughs of technology are actually going to be in the mainland.
I think you're right. I agree with that 100%. Because that's where all of these things, it's like all the framework, everything, the big pieces are all in place in Cloudlandia. We're not missing anything with that. But there's lots of opportunity to bridge to actually get the things done on the mainland using all of the technologies available in Cloudlandia.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because one of the biggest predictions that has been made continually is how machines are going to obsolete human beings. That's been a major theme now for the last 10 years. But the U.S. Actually employment is way up, in the last 2 years, and it's not just coincidental with Trump. I think it's because of Trump. but the biggest increase in employment has been at the bottom of the employment pyramid. It's been blue collar, it's been manufacturing, it's been everything. And I think the reason is because that had been badly stripped away by technology.
Yeah.
But those who remain now are getting the benefit of technology. Certainly in the manufacturing sector, there's tremendous breakthroughs, where, 60 people can now produce what 600 people produced 20 years ago. But,
yes.
But there's hundreds of new possibilities for that happening, which would generate new employment, not getting rid of old employment. I think old employment had been stripped away as far as it was going to go, and now with the addition of humans and teamwork, you're going to see a huge jump in blue collar, and the people who actually know how to get things done. Not the theorists, but the practicers, the people who actually practice.
Right.
I think you're going to see huge productivity gains among people who actually know how to get things done. And so that's kind of maybe where we should, you and I, on the Joy of Procrastination, because we are going to take advantage of every single new thing that frees us from having to do something. That frees us from having to do something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a procrastinator, and I'm proud of it.
Here's to many more years of procrastination for us.
Here's to a lifetime of more and more enlightened, transformative procrastination.
That's great. Well, I think we've said it all, Dan. Yet we said as much as we could say during 1 hour. I think you're right, and yet there's always more. Yeah, I'm excited about the way things are going. So I will have. I'm going to dig in, find the process for me to do an impact filter, and I'll have my report.
I'll have that sent to you tomorrow morning because Carolyn will know it. So first thing in the morning, I'll have her send the link so that you can do it. And my particular facilitator's name is Joanne, and I thought she was superb. So just to let you know.
Okay, great. Well, then I'll ask for Joanne if that's possible.
Okay.
I look forward to it. I'll be back with my report. So thanks, Dan. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.